Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Dingle's World. I am the Mr. Dingle, and today we're going to go back in time. We're going to go on a spiritual journey back to one of the first games that I and Azo and Korgoth, a name we haven't seen or heard from in a long time, and if you're out there, Korgoth, we love you. Please come back. Nevertheless, we're talking about the forest. That's right, folks, the forest. You know, for those of you that have been following my channel since back in the day, you'll find that actually the forest was one of, I believe, some of the best content that we've done, mainly just because I think we're very akin to survival games, and this definitely had all the stops. So let's go ahead and get into it. There's a lot of elements to talk about in this game, and again, we are building our community. So if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. If you're following on Twitch, hit the follow button. Make sure you hit the like button, and hit that bell button for that notification so that you know when we have videos that are coming live for your enjoyment. So, nevertheless, to open this up, I don't like to pull any punches when it comes to my videos. I'd like to come right out of the gate with the review number, and that is an 8. Boom! An 8 is a good number. You'll remember, Fortnite was a 9. PUBG was an 8. These are all fantastic games. Why would I give The Forest such a high rating? Or, if you want to know the reverse, why didn't, The Forest get a 9 or a 10? Well, let's kind of go over those just real fast. First of all, the price point. For this game, it actually was really well priced. Unlike your PUBGs where they sell you everything in game and then they sell you at a $30 price point, this game gives you a nice $19.99, so $20 for about anywhere from 20 to however many hours you want to play. There's an infinite amount of things to do in the game. Eventually they will get old, but if you're into dollhousing or if you're into building, compounds and structures or just survival in general, you could turn this into a 100-hour game easy. Especially with co-op, as we've been able to demonstrate in some of our previous The Forest videos. So, at the price point, $19.99 is a fantastic buy for that much gameplay, and the depth of gameplay we're going to get into, and you'll see why this gets even better and why it's actually an 8, not a 10, and not a 6. So let's get into the graphics first of all. This game is gorgeous. So while Azo runs on a machine that is really crappy and terrible, and it's, I swear to God, like 2 rubber bands and a paper clip, held together by a little bit of super glue, he was able to run the game. Now, it wasn't spectacular. I mean, the graphics weren't like jaw-dropping, but nevertheless, the fact that he could play the game at all is a testament to the game's engine and what it can do. So, but the better the computer, the better the performance, the better the game looks. You get these high-resolution textures. You get these beautiful daytime lights and shadows. Oh my God, when you're going through the forest and you see the light coming through the trees, you see the life, you see the lush green, you see the shadows that every leaf is casting on the ground and on your character. And then those day and night transitions, those sunsets, those gorgeous sunsets, and the nighttime lit just enough to where it's not too dark, but you can really capture the beauty that is nighttime, especially when you light a fire and you get those ambient lighting effects in the background from the torches, and maybe if you have a lake in the middle of your base, that water effects with the light from the torches on the water. Oh, be still my heart. So the better the computer you got, the better this game looks, the better the experience you're going to have. But even then, even if you don't got a powerhouse computer, the game is fun. So for those that have not played the game, and I promise I will not spoil this game too much, I can't. Gotta spoil a little. You gotta, in order to be able to talk about the game, I gotta be able to talk about a few things. But for those that haven't played it, I'm gonna try and not give away anything that's really gonna, detract from your experience. So, what is it? It's essentially a zombie horror, survival horror game. All right, now they try and tell you It ain't zombies, it's cannibals. But they're mutants. They're They eat your brains. They eat your skin. They eat your flesh. They chase you around, make weird, crazy sounds, and they don't stop until you're bloody, beaten pulp on the ground. Okay, so there's zombies. Mechanics are the same. Call them what you want. Cannibals, fine. I would call zombies a cannibal, except the only difference is that one's alive and one's dead. But, zombies are cannibals. They eat humans. They eat flesh. I don't want to get stuck on that. There was just a big, talking point in the previous videos about I was always corrected about how it's cannibals and not zombies, and then I always had to remind them about how the mechanic is the same. So, call them what you want. Cannibals, zombies, that's the mechanic. However, for me, the big part of this game is base building, and we'll get into that later, but there's a lot of base building in this game, and how you build your base, and what you build your base with, and the traps you build around your base, and the furniture that you put inside to stylize the base to be more akin to what you want, where you want it. That's huge. And the other thing is the resources, very resource gathering. So you have your wood you got to collect. The wood, the never-ending supplies of wood. The wood never ends. But as is the case in any base building game, you're always collecting like wood. And look at the raft, man. Jeez, it's just there are some materials that you just can't get away from. Rocks, and then there's plants, and then there's tools that you can collect, so you're not just crafting all your own tools, which are nice and a great feature of this game. There's also, pre-made tools and things out there, like a samurai sword that you could find in this world. So, there's a lot of really great stuff out there. And then there's animals, and a lot of animals who go out there. You kill them for their skins. The lot of cannibal combat, and really there's a storyline in the game, but you're really not told what it is. You start the game off. You're in an airplane. The airplane goes down. You're the only survivor. And it's a grueling, nasty mess when you get off there. And sometimes, when you need to change wardrobes, you might find yourself in the flight attendant's dress. Don't be alarmed. It is survival, so no one will judge. But nevertheless, once you hit the ground, it's all about why you're there, and you start piecing together that you have a son, and what his role in the game is, and what this island's about, what the cannibals are about. And there is a story, but you find little piece of the puzzle here and there, videotapes or pictures, and it slowly starts to piece it together until you've built yourself up to a certain plateau, and then you can kind of go forge on to the end and where the whole story unfolds. And it's actually a pretty decent story where there's a choice at the end, and any kind of ending that gives you choices, that's my kind of ending. So just keep that in mind. So another thing is the world is pretty big. It's pretty diverse. I shouldn't say that. It's not big. It's big for 1999. Let's put it in perspective here. It ain't no Just Cause 2. It ain't no Fallout. It is for 1999. It's a 1999 sized world. So there's not a lot of diversity in it. If you're pretty much either in the forest, out on the water, or in the snowy region. Now the snowy region, it had a lot of potential. It was very small and too short, in my opinion. It was something that I actually felt was the most interesting part of the terrain, and I would have liked to have seen more of, especially when you get to these, like, Matterhorn mountain peaks. You look around, you see these big snowy mountain peaks, and you just want to climb to the top like it's your Everest. And, spoiler, you don't get to do that. So one of the things I didn't like, one of the reasons why this wasn't a 10, is because the world, I feel like I got a taste of the forest, like I really got the buffet of the forest, but when it came to, the ocean, or when it came to the snowy Arctic regions, where I was like, I wanted to taste that sushi rather than the pasta. I really didn't get enough to wet my whistle. So I felt that while the diversity was there, it didn't give you enough time in the other areas to really have an experience. So I would like to have seen them expand that out. Make rivers that go through big rivers, like you see on Man vs. Wild or Survivor Man. He's cut through the forest, and there's not this little stream. I'm sure there's a stream or a creek he hops over, but then you got these raging rapids, this quarter-mile river that cuts through the forest. Where are those at? And there's some gameplay that would really lend well to that, like houseboats. So I'd love to see stuff like that, where I could use, rivers to traverse up and down the mainland. And then, really explore those mountaintops, and then, out in the ocean, really get further out in the ocean, so that way, because you're really kind of bound to the coast, so you're never getting far enough away to where you can't see shore, or you're getting far enough away to where you're like, wow, I'm kind of in the ocean, you're always like on the shore. You're always pretty close enough to where you could hit an arrow from your boat to the shore, and I really feel like, they needed to expand that gameplay a little more there, so that you can go down. I know there's clams that you can get in the water, and there's sharks, even though you can't do anything with the sharks, which is really frustrating. I'd like to see the raft where I can eat their meat and all that. Maybe get in the water, catch some crabs, maybe find a chest under there. Maybe explore some sunken ships, around the coastline. That would be really, 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 really cool. So to talk about... Again, so to kind of get back to the mood modifiers, you typically, very normal survival game, you got your thirst, so you got to drink stuff. You got your hunger, so you got to eat stuff. And then you got your temperature, you got to stay warm. So the temperature, that's only a hard mode feature, so, and it really does make a huge, huge difference. So those are the main modifiers, the mood modifiers that you're going to have to manage in order to stay alive, and they will make a difference. Like if you go into caves, you want to make sure you're topped off and you got some extra food and you got some extra water on you before you go into some caves, because you stay in those caves a while, which there's a lot of caves in this game. So to get back to the environment, so you have your Arctic, you have your forest, you have your ocean, and you got your caves. Now the caves is kind of like the hard area, so that's where you go to to find the special weapons. That's where you get a samurai sword or a chainsaw, and so you want to get those things. You're going to have to go into the caves, and that's where the zombies are aplenty. And tight spaces, dark caves with a lot of really strong zombies is kind of like it's a chiller. The first time you go into your cave by yourself or with a buddy, make sure you bring an extra pair of underwear, because you're going to crap your pants probably once or twice. And so so go in there, make sure you're prepared, and know what you're going for, and just like if you're swimming in the ocean, you're diving for clams, at some point you got to come up for air. So make sure that you don't stay in the tunnels for too long. Come up for air. Again, there's a lot of really great resources in the caves that lend you wanting to go down and check it out. I would like to have seen other areas to still on environments. I'd like to see the other areas really kind of flesh out a little bit. I'd love to see like radioactive zones or areas that you necessarily can't get to right away, and something that you can get to. I love the idea of having these hard places that you have to build up to get to kind of get like the awesome equipment, like maybe a car, or how about a gun. All right, now there is a gun in this game, but I want to know why every developer that makes a game, they always want to say, okay, well, we're on an island now, so the gun that we're going to give you is a flintlock pistol. What? I mean, what like old, museum broke down next to the ocean and washed up its World War II or Civil War relics on this island? Like what's the likelihood that you're going to find an old flintlock pistol on an island versus, a 9mm? It's more likely that you're going to have a 9mm wash up on the shore than you are some fucking flintlock pistol that's been broken apart into a million different pieces and buried across the island. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. And you know what? I didn't even want to find all the pieces. I was like, you're going to give me a flintlock pistol? Yeah, you know what? I'll stick with my arrows, aim for the head, boom. Forget the gun. So, kind of a miss there as well. I would like to have seen the gun be something that, I wanted to work towards. Flintlock pistol, that doesn't do it for me. And you know what? I bet you it doesn't do it for you either. So, we're going to take a step on and we're going to go back into the survival element now. Again, it's really easy to manage with your thirst and your hunger and your warmth. Especially when you're thirst, you just get the water satchel, kill a couple deer, get that extra the water satchel that you can carry with you, and then water is pretty much, you don't got to worry about it. I would like to have seen water purifiers like in the raft, some distillers, so that way you could always have some, water cooking. Now, I know that they have the turtle shell, but the turtle shell only fills when it rains, and it doesn't always rain, and sometimes you go through these dry spells, and you're thirsty as hell, and you're drinking, dirty pond water, because maybe you don't have time because you weren't paying attention to boil the thing, and you're about to die, and blah, 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 and you know how this goes. You can eat your berries, but your berries, you don't necessarily have them all the time. Now you're starting to understand the complexities that we're dealing with here. So, would like to see some other water purifiers. Pick up a military survival guide. That's what I would recommend to any game developer out there that's planning on making any kind of survival game. Go online, look up the Military Survival Handbook. This is military issued, and just go through it. Look at the traps. Look at the water purifiers. Look at all the different techniques that they have for survival. And you know what? You should include those. This isn't rocket science. It's not rocket science. There's some really easy things that would really kind of go a long way. And you know what? Some kid might play this game, and he might figure out, based upon your schematic here for building a water purifier that may one day save his life when he gets crashed on an island somewhere and he plays the forest. And he's like, I remember how to make a water purifier from the forest. And you know what? That may save somebody's life someday. And how could you miss that opportunity to not just be a good gameplay experience, but to be a teacher? That's right. That's right. We got to teach the new kids. They're in these games all the time, so they got to learn something. Learn a survival, man, that'll tell you what. Teach a man to fish, right? So, moving on. As you want to play the hard modes, you get introduced to, the cold, and then you start having temperature issues, which at that point you got to get the winter suit, which really takes care of all that. But nevertheless, the nighttime will freeze you, and so you got always nuzzled up next to a fire. You're spooning for warmth. You're always looking for that warm creature to stuff down your pants to kind of take the chill away. Nevertheless, unless you want to have that experience, stay out of hard mode. Thirst and hunger is good enough. Moving on, we're going to go over the weapons. I thought the game had a nice diversity in weapons. Granted that there is some of the legendary items that you have to farm throughout the game, like, we all know about the chainsaw, or the samurai sword, or the climbing pick, or the spray can torch, or the beautiful axe, the modern axe. These are mighty, mighty weapons, and you want to get them. The compound bow, delicious. Gotta have it. But you gotta find them first, So you gotta crawl before you can walk, and you gotta walk before you can run. So when you're stumbling out of the airplane, maybe your first thought shouldn't be, where on this island is that compound bow? That Mr. Dingle is talking about. You know what? You shouldn't be thinking about the compound bow right now. What you should be thinking about is other things. The craftable tools, which I thought was a really robust and an excellent tool source. You don't really need the legendary items. However, the chainsaw, that's a must-have, so figure it out. Get that thing, because there's gas everywhere. You're going to want to have the chainsaw, because that really cuts down the amount of effort in felling trees by yourself, like, in half. So it's a must-have. Get it. Trust me, it's worth it. If there's one item that you want to farm first, it's that thing. It's worth it. Trust me. But to get back on it, you have your crafted bow with your crafted arrows, and you got your snowshoes with your slingshot, and you got your hatchet, and you got your winter clothes, and then a variety of different bags and pouches. Did I say slingshot? If not, slingshot, because that was actually one of my favorite weapons in the game, to be able to pluck little birds out of the air, or catch a rabbit going with a slingshot. That was it was just a fun tool to use. Didn't work for shit on the cannibals, as you would expect. But I mean, come on, of course I tried slingshot in the cannibal. It didn't do anything though. But in the end, what you want to do is you want to get the arrows, and the arrows for the bows were where it's at. And really, I spent a lot of time killing zombies, and really the best advice I could give you is just aim for the head. I don't know any other way to say it, but an arrow to the head is a one shot, no matter what. And it's just, you get good at it. You start to understand the physics of the arrow. Where the drop is, and because it's not going to spell it out for you. You got to just kind of get the feel for the bow, and what you do, you can just knock those headshots out. Boom, boom, boom. You can watch Azo and I do it in the last videos all day long, because we are OG, baby. Maybe not OG, but we could headshot. So the weapons were really good. You could also, for most of the weapons, you could upgrade them. And what I mean by that is you could either poison them with poison berries, or you could wrap them in some kind of cloth and then light it on fire. And so you have a fire axe, or you have fire arrows, or poison arrows, or this is the deliciousness involved in that. I mean, come on. The possibilities are endless. So, again, a lot of really great weapons. Their crafting menu is amazing in this game. So that definitely strong. So, and now to get on to the beast that we got to talk about in this game, and that is building. The building in this game stands out amongst any other game that I've ever played. It is phenomenal. You can build tree forts. You can build huge compounds. You can build little shelters, and just survive with a variety of different shelters around. So, if you just want to explore the land, you just build shelters everywhere. And then you just kind of come up on your hunting shelter, spend the night and kick off the next morning and go on to the next shelter, and just kind of run around. What I chose and what Azo and Korgoth chose to do on this one is we tried a variety of different places, but we eventually built on an island. That's right, folks. We found an island. Go check that episode out. It's a winner. We built zip lines from the cliffside all the way down to our island. And yes, you can cut down trees and you can send them down to your base on zip lines. I'm sending logs down the zip line. Name one game that does that. Name one game that sends us log. I was blown away when I saw that mechanic. I think that I fell in love at that point. I was like, you telling me I can send logs on zip lines, and then once I'm done, zip line down myself? Oh, come on. I wanted to, at one point, it never ended up happening, but I wanted to see if I could make a zip line from the top of the map all the way down to the bottom of that map. So that way you're just zip lining all the way down. It never ended up happening, mainly because, there's a lot of games out there. We can't just get stuck on one, right? So there's a lot of verticality to bases, a lot of it. And it's really just what you want. You could build as big and as large and as vast and as robust as your patience, and I'll emphasize and underline patience, because really it's a lot of farming, a lot of materials. And if you're going to make a huge fortress, don't do it yourself. Get a buddy, do co-op. Trust me, that's why it's there, and it goes a lot quicker. But yeah, it's really just what you want to build. When we were down on our island, we built a 4-story building, with a variety of different rooms, and we had a kitchen in there. We had a living room, a den with tables and furs and chairs and pictures on the walls, and we had cupboards and the whole 9 yards, and we had zip lines going out in front. We had gardens out in front of our house. We had a dock that we had out in front of our house that had a houseboat and a raft and a gazebo at the end, a lit up gazebo at the end of it. And we had a little small island next to our island that we ended up building a lighthouse next to. Why? Because you could. I mean, why else would you? why else would you build a lighthouse? Why? We didn't have any problems with any ships running ashore, but nevertheless, it looked good. It was awesome. It was just, can you? Should we? Why not? And at the end of the day, we were very proud of our fortress, while the zombies looked longingly from the shore at our megalith, and we laughed at them while we sipped our tree sap tea. There isn't tree sap tea in the game, however, but I'm trying to paint a picture for you here. So, nevertheless, there also is the houseboat, which wasn't something until we discovered much later in the game, which was amazing. And then the reason why I say it's amazing is because you can have, with your houseboat, your own, self-contained living environment. And what I mean by that is you can build on top of your houseboat. So you can put all your water purifiers and your armor racks and your birdhouses and all the different the fireplaces and all the different things that you need to survive on the roof, and then inside, and then around the outsides. And once you're done, you could build everything that you could possibly build in the game and stick it on the houseboat. And your houseboat may look a little silly, but it is a self-contained unit. You can live on the houseboat forever and never need to get off of it. It's amazing. Love it, love it, love it. The only problem is that you're only hanging around the coastline. There is no rivers that shoot through the mainland, so it's like you're really kind of stuck on the houseboat, around the perimeter of the island, and you can't go around the north of the island. So really, it's about midway around the south and back. Again, because they restrict your movement up by the frozen north. So I don't know if this is like the Game of Thrones, and this is like the wall up there, and you don't want to go past that. But nevertheless, you can't go any further. So. But didn't stop me from loving the houseboat, checking out the different islands that you can go to, swimming down, grabbing those clams, those delicious nummy little clams, and really kind of having that experience, because really it is a worthwhile experience. And there is no place in this game that you feel safe outside of on a boat or on an island. I mean, even in the trees, even when you build a tree fort, and there's a lot of tree forts that you can build, you're always getting attacked nonstop, which is going to lead me to the next topic, which is traps. So traps are not a small piece of this game. It is a critical element of the gameplay, and there's a lot of really wonderful traps in this game. And a trap, you say, why would I need traps? Well, you're constantly getting attacked by zombies, and there's this false sense of security you get when you play the game for the first time, where you're just kind of like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and you might get a zombie once every 2 days, and you dispatch them quickly. But then after about a week of gameplay, they're coming every night. And then, after about a month of gameplay, they're coming during the day and night. And you're not going to get anywhere in this game if you're constantly fighting the stuff that's attacking you. So you're either running, or the smart thing you do is you make your base do the work for you. And what you do is you build traps around your base. I recommend the Happy Birthday trap, not just because it's a hella funny name, but it's hugely effective. You have your deadfall traps, you have your Happy Birthday traps, you have your rope swing traps, less effective. You have your noose trap, even less effective. So you're really kind of stuck with your deadfall and your Happy Birthday, which, trust me, with just those two alone, if you put Happy Birthday traps around your base and deadfall traps around your base, and just make sure to keep them set up, you don't need to fight the zombies. Your base will fight for you, and then you just get in the base and close up the doors and just reset the traps when the zombies come, and then you're gravy, man. You're gravy. You don't got to worry about zombies or cannibals anymore. And then there's the Molotov traps and the explosive traps, which are great on paper, but when you're talking about a month into it, a month into the gameplay, which happens pretty quick, it's not a month in game, is not a month in real life, then you're talking about resources. So the resources that you would need for, the Molotov trap and the explosive trap, that's a lot of resources that you have to gather in order to keep those traps active. Whereas the Happy Birthday trap and the Deadfall trap, all you got to do is just reset it, and maybe you have to put a piece of wood every once in a while to keep the trap updated. But for the Molotov traps and the explosive traps, you're getting circuit boards, you're getting little alcohol bottles. You just can't keep that up. So while those traps are nice on paper, really we should stick with the stuff, the old faithfuls, Happy Birthday and Deadfall traps. I like the rope swing trap and the noose traps, but they're so the catch zone is so small and narrow that it's just it didn't really happen very much, whereas the Happy Birthday was much wider, and the same with the Deadfall trap. You had a much bigger footprint than you did with the other ones, so it was much easier to kill with those, but I liked them nonetheless. And again, the zombies are a threat. They are something that as you play the game, they're gonna get harder and they're gonna get faster. There's going to be some interesting mechanics about it. Like if you kill the girl zombies, which are topless, by the way, so watch out if your kids are around. Learn that the hard way. But nevertheless, if you kill the zombie girls, that's really going to piss off the zombie boys, and then the zombie guys are going to become a lot more frenzied when you kill them, which kind of makes sense. I'd be pissed off if you killed my girlfriend too. Nevertheless, they'll come in packs of 5 and 8, and then they'll come in waves, and then you'll have these big, huge mutants, which we called, I can't remember all the names of them right now, but there was, ones that have these legs and arms, and another big fat one that would run and charge you, and they're much harder to kill, and then as you get further in the game, you start to get those with the hordes, and so it really starts to get challenging, and so it really requires you to build smartly and not just slap something together and just beat your head against the zombies every night. Azo and I, to kind of prove that point, there is one zombie, and I keep saying zombies, I know it's not zombies, bear with me, cannibal camp, which is like the biggest cannibal camp in the game, which is where you get the best resources. There's so much good shit there, but you pretty much got to go for war when you go to that zombie camp, which is actually right next to where we built our island camp. But nevertheless, go watch the video, you'll see for yourself. But we actually built a camp in the middle of the biggest cannibal camp in the game. And the way we did it was, by building a lot of verticality, so everything was up on platforms and bridges around, and then we had strategic traps all the way around the bottom, and let the traps do the work. And because this was a hot zone, we had to support our traps with arrows from above, which we were able to do. And we were able to live inside the biggest zombie camp in the game. So, if you build right, and if you build smart, the combat is easy peasy, 1, 2, 3 So that's pretty much it. It is. I believe it's still a beta game. It's a smaller game, but at the right price. But what you get is never-ending fun. I mean, there's really a lot to do in this game. There's a lot to explore in this game. If you have co-op, if you have a friend, it's that much more fun to play with a buddy than by yourself. Or if you want to just turn off the lights and play in the dark and kind of creep yourself out, that'll do it. It's definitely an eerie game at times. But I guarantee you, at $19.99, this game will not disappoint. And if you like a survival game, this is definitely right up your alley. It is a solid 8 from the Dingle because I love survival games. I love this game. I just wish that it was a little bigger. I wish that they really expanded on some of the things that they did really well. I think they kind of cut the content short because they could, and I think that they really needed to kind of go all in because they had the right chemistry, they had the right formula for this game, but they just kind of they didn't go all in with the gameplay, and so that's why it's an 8 and not a 10. But let me tell you what, this could have been a 10, hands down, easy. So, Mr. Dingle says, if you like survival horror games, this is the one for you. Pick it up. You will not be disappointed. And if you have any ideas or any questions or any thoughts on what this gameplay is like, go check our videos. We have hours and hours of footage of us playing this game, and you can see some of the things I talked about along the way. So check it out. You'll love it. I promise. And again, keep an eye on this channel as I put more reviews out for games that we've played up until this point. I'm trying to close the loop a little bit, trying to put a bow on some of these projects. And I will be coming out with some new streaming content here in the very near future, as there's some games coming up that are delicimundo. So nevertheless, I'm the Mr. Dingle. Much love to all of you, and I'll see you in the next video.